22nd is when this is coming out, right? It's coming out Wednesday.
82212. This is my friend, John 2212.
Mr. 2212 is my father.
Please. Call me Tootie.
Call me Toots.
We've already made a joke about a guy named Tootie.
When?
It was Tootie fucking mascarpone or some shit. Tootie.
Why would his last name be a type of cheese? That doesn't sound like a joke we'd make.
Fuck you.
That sounds like a legitimate fictional gangster name, though.
Yeah, it was. It was Tootie something.
But yours was better than whatever we came up with just now.
Oh.
It's August 22nd, 2012, 22/22nd, 2012, 22D12.
I feel like fucking Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind right now, where I have a hole in my brain.
We've moved past this 3
I know
times.
you have, because you're not the one fighting against this black hole in your mind. Like,
I'm glad you exited a black hole also. You're not the one fighting against this black hole.
Just hold my hand.
You were like,
take my hand.
You were like 2D something, all of the something. Fuck off.
Just take my hand.
I remember you saying all these things.
I've never said any of these things.
I wake up tomorrow with this tattooed on my fucking forehead.
You're like a 2D12. No, that's the one from yesterday. Oh. It's August 22nd, 2012, and Richard Garriott owns Lord British.
This is Idle Thumbs 71. I'm Chris Remo.
I'm Jake Rodkin.
And I'm Sean Vanneman. Hi, Jake.
Oh, hey, Sean.
Why did you say that?
Oh, I don't know why I said that. Hey, Chris, why did I say that?
I learned the other day on the internet that...
Ooh.
I don't know if you... yeah, it's where you learn things when it's video games.
Oh, who's your ISP?
Topic. You guys are you aware of the new Ultima game that EA is making? They're making an Ultima game.
I heard there was a new Ultima game.
Ultima Forever.
That's all that okay.
Is it actually the... No, it's not the number 4.
No, although it is based on Ultima 4, so they were really throwing away a golden opportunity to call it Ultima 4.
They did hear, though, that the forever suffix bodes well for your project, so they decided to fix that to the name. But no, it's
a free-to-play MMO thing, like
I
on
imagine,
Facebook or something? Maybe it's not on Facebook. I pretend I didn't say that. I don't know if that's true. I don't want to disseminate false information.
But it having the word forever at the end of it implies... Well, 10 years ago, that would have implied MMO, and now that implies free-to-play. So I assumed when you said Ultima Forever that it was a free-to-play game.
Yeah.
So Richard Garriott is involved in some capacity because I said his name earlier.
He's not. And in fact, there is no Lord British in Ultima Forever. There is Lady British, because apparently while EA owns the whole Ultima series, Richard Garriott personally trademarked Lord British. So that guy can't be in Ultima Forever, so now it's a lady.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Making it more interesting.
Yeah.
I think. There's implied narrative there that sounds nice. Or not.
Hopefully it's an implied sort of that one Wachowski brothers style narrative. And Lady British is in fact Lord
man,
British.
that's the twist.
Yeah. Ultima Forever is...
Did you guys ever play Ultimas? Any of them?
No.
No, not really.
We
actually.
suck.
People are really super into Ultimas.
Oh, I know. There's a lot of people I know for whom those games are like super formative. Like Greg Kasavin, I know.
Yeah.
In fact, it may even have been Ultima 4 or maybe Ultima 7. I can't remember. That was like his, game that opened things up to him in his brain, which I know a lot of people who feel that way.
Yeah.
And I just kind of missed out on that whole series, which is sort of shameful.
I feel like
it's one
that
just
entire like slice of video of like PC gaming history, it was not formative to me at all. So I feel like I didn't really understand like Ultima, and then I guess EverQuest after that, and all these games that were really, really like huge deals.
It seems like you
those
just missed out on
different.
missed out on PC RPG stuff though in general, probably until more recently.
Yeah, and I wonder how much that changed who I became as a designer. I bet a lot.
That's the same with me. Like I had an Apple II, but I basically just played shareware games for some reason on that computer, and then I jumped to a Mac in the 90s, so I just missed everything apparently.
Yeah, I mean, I had a PC from like 1989 on, but I think I guess I just somehow missed Ultima. I guess I also for most of those years missed out on the, I guess pre-BioWare PC RPGs, I guess. Like I played Baldur's Gate and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know what the deal with that was.
Speaking of Baldur's Gate and PC RPGs, there was a thing today where like, this isn't really, I don't know, might not be good podcast material, but like the Diablo 3 team is feuding with the Diablo 2 and 1 like creator guy.
Really?
Yeah.
Like, what do you mean creator guy?
I can't remember the guy's name.
Is it like Max or Eric Schaefer?
It's not one of the Schaefers. No,
it's another guy from Blizzard North. But he was being interviewed by somebody like Eurogamer or IGN, and they said, "Oh, like, what did you think of Diablo 3?" And he said, "Honestly, they made a lot of decisions we wouldn't have made," and just enumerated them. And which is, do you do that or not? That's not really. I don't know. I mean, I would be curious as to what you guys think, but I guess like somebody on the current Diablo 3 team like posted it on Facebook and then said, "Oh, I feel like I just got thrown under the bus." And then a giant, like everybody from the team started talking. And then,
like on Facebook?
Yeah, on Facebook. It got screen grabbed and sent out to Reddit. One of the dudes,
I missed this entirely.
Lead game designer, I think, on Diablo 3. Dustin
Browder? No, Dustin Browder was StarCraft 2.
His only quote is just, "Fuck this loser."
Wow.
Yeah, it got gnarly. So,
crazy.
Yeah. What's funny, though, is I feel like looking at the guy's direct quotes, and we should look them up at the break because I'd be interested to hear what you guys think, so maybe we can revisit this. But he was pretty much enumerating all the sort of things that you enumerated a couple weeks ago. Just sort of like why Diablo 3 didn't catch the way Diablo 2 did for you.
Yeah.
It just wasn't as crisp and it had some choices, And the thing that's kind of ugly about the whole thing is like you do spend so long making the game, even if you're not. If you're the Diablo 3 team, you spend so long on that game and put so many hours in that even if the parts that you're unhappy about, you don't need like articulated so clearly by somebody who's sort of on your side of the fence, supposedly, Yeah,
I don't like that, though. I don't like that there are sides of the fence like that. In fact, one of the things that has kind of bothered me a little bit about the development side of the industry is how much of there seems to be this kind of like, I wouldn't say everyone's like this. In fact, I would say probably most people are not like this, but I've definitely encountered a fair number of people who I feel like are on team developer and they're just automatically in defense of any decision the developer makes or anything. And I think that's kind of lame. I mean, I think if you look at like the history of any other creative medium, be it literature, film, music, whatever else, a lot of the most interesting critics of those forums are people who are creators themselves. And I think it's totally interesting and valid and worthwhile for people who are creators to give like not just sniping and shittiness, but like, worthwhile, valid, substantial critique of what their peers are doing. I mean, I think that's really cool. And if, it's the games industry is a little weird because it's so much about it's so predicated on these huge franchises and these big things that are a little odd. In the sense that if you work at somewhere like Blizzard, you're very, very, very unlikely to make a game that isn't a big franchise that a billion people have also filtered through. Like that's just kind of weird. Like that's somewhat unusual for a major entertainment creator for their entire slate to just be that. But it's actually quite normal in the games industry, and so that lends itself to. I think probably weird emotional situations like that. Also, the fact that if you work not just at Blizzard, but a lot of places in the games industry, you can be in the games industry for a long time and ship like one game or two games, which is very weird. I mean, it's very, very strange. It's one of the reasons a lot of people burn out in this industry for sure. And I knew a guy who graduated from college when I did, and he went to work at Blizzard, and he was there for years and years and years before he finally shipped StarCraft 2. And that was the first project he shipped when he was there, and it took him forever. And he's still working on StarCraft 2 now. I mean, a couple of years after that. And so I would imagine that even more so than some things, because it's not like that guy's personally in charge of StarCraft at all. He's not even remotely close to it. But it's been his entire life for so long at this point that I would imagine he's more personally wrapped up in it than he might be if it was, 6 months of pre-production, 6 months of production, like whatever, something like that. And it's probably similar for a lot of the Diablo 3 team where, that game's
That's kind of what I was articulating. Just I
the,
see why it's really just not a conversation you want to be privy to. It happened on Facebook and you read it and you're like, oh God, oh God, oh God.
Also, the guy who gave the quote was David Brevik, who's one of the co-founders
Dave Brevik.
of Blizzard North.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's a dude who, when he says, here's what I think we would have done. Like, I just also pulled up the quote, and it is not, it's not in, it's a pretty polite quote what he said. I mean, he said,
yeah, go ahead.
He said they made some decisions. Well, this is just a pullout that's on a site about it. I don't have the full interview up, but the pull quote was, the Blizzard South, the Diablo 3 guys, made some decisions with the loot system that were very different than the way we did it in Diablo 2. And I think, obviously, the community's been upset with some of the decisions they made. Having all of your powers work off your main weapon and things like that, to having blues that are more powerful than yellows. Eventually, the auction house and how that worked, even something as simple as when you equip an item and it's bound to your character permanently, would have totally changed the dynamic of the game. It's stuff like that, but it seems it's polite and very detail-oriented, pulling apart of what's going on, but it made people sad on the Diablo 3 team.
At least he played your game, dude.
Yeah.
It's really tough.
Yeah.
It's so hard to compare to other things like that. I just can't imagine this situation playing out this way in another form, and not just because I think people are behaving badly or anything, but just because I think they're so different.
Right.
Like games are made in such a different way to how other things are. Like a lot of the things he's describing are mechanical things, right? They're not artistic decisions necessarily in the same way that he might have also had artistic critiques, I don't know, or criticisms, but the things he's describing is very craft stuff. So that's the stuff that some guy who's just some mid-level systems designer probably does get personally offended by.
Right, there are dudes whose job is just to spend years on these specific
on these loot
points.
tables or whatever. Yeah.
I mean,
I'm not saying he shouldn't be able to.
No, I think it's the thing that actually personally terrifies me about making a game for longer than a couple years. Because man, I think I would just now, I look at the work that we're doing, I'm like, oh God, and then, I can enumerate very honest critique about it, and then I hope other people can too.
It's a very small example of this, but you and I made a Monkey Island game at Telltale. That game has a pretty intense legacy with some strong personalities attached to it, who I've since met. I mean, I've known I've known Tim for a long. I've known Tim Schafer and Ron Gilbert for a while through Idle Thumbs and other things, but then you end up talking to them about it at some point. It's very odd. But it's nowhere near as
I feel because
there's not as much of my life in that game as there probably is for these guys.
Just going to say is that I feel we we're mid-level designers at the time. Here's the game you're making. Oh, sick. Let's try to do right by these guys. And God, that was still 3 years ago. So when I was 25 and you were 27, and so we're making games and learning at the same time. We put in our 18 months around whatever on that game, start to finish, and it is what it is. And I'm really proud of the work, but I'm also even more proud of how you kind of grow as an individual while you're doing it.
Right.
And I'm able to accept the critique because I think of the size of the pie of my life that it takes up, which is not a quarter like it is.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah.
Make shorter games and you'll be happier, everybody. I don't know if that's a message that actually is meaningful.
Yeah, if you want, if you as a person decide my life for a while is going to be, I'm going to make StarCraft 2, you can't you can't reconcile those two things. Or I'm going to making Diablo 3 is what I want my life to be. Maybe it is for some people.
Yeah.
That's not going to be reconcilable for a while. But yeah.
And to tie this back into Richard Garriott, we were that whole Lord British, Lady British thing. That's all based on a goofy name that a 19-year-old nerd made up 30 years ago?
Yep.
And now EA's we can't get that Lord British thing that some pimply teenager made in 1980.
Right. I am Lord British.
Exactly.
Cool. Oh, God, guys, we don't have the Lord British IP. That's owned by Lord British.
When we're in our mid-50s, we're going to be building some mega project and be like, God, we can't get hot scoops.
Right? Steve's got that with an iron up on that IP.
Whip Panda Steve in a meeting with his attorney right now, signing.
No. 2 hours, space. Yeah, good.
I'm going to cut this part out of the podcast. I don't want to give that guy any ideas. But I mean, seriously, that's an example of how you can like Dave Brevik commenting on Diablo. He made, he worked on Diablo 1 15 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Twice that long ago is how long Richard Garriott was working on Ultima. And you still have some global
say in space.
So you still have some global corporation figuring out how to like make the new version of that.
Yep.
That's a really weird thing. That makes it just all this stuff about like who should take creative credit for what and like who is allowed to be, offended on behalf of what name and this and that. Like it's crazy in games.
Yeah.
It's totally crazy. There have been probably dozens of Ultima games since 1980.
Yeah.
There have been all of them.
Well, there's no person on the planet who likes to be scorned more than somebody who works in the game industry.
That's true.
Sorry. It's a fact, though. I don't really know where to go.
Right now is when we bring a replay up of, oh man, what was the song?
I don't know what you're asking me.
The one that you wrote about the community manager. What? It was an Idle Thumb song.
I don't know what you're talking about.
The Idle Thumb song that you wrote. No.
Oh man, now I can't even remember what it is.
The Senor Super Douche?
Yes. Yeah. God, that's it. Yes. How did I not remember what that? Yeah. Senor Super Douche.
Which you can check out in the archive on the site, I imagine.
Yeah. Sorry, that song was just a good example of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway.
A game you have to play.
Mm-hmm.
Have to play. Jake, you have to play DayZ.
Oh, man, yeah.
Oh, my gosh.
Me? I have to play
You should
it?
actually watch the stream we did.
Yeah.
It was funny. Part 3. I don't know.
I actually watched it. So I was trying to tell my wife about it. Mm-hmm. And I was like, you're not going to believe this shit. So we start talking, and then I'm like, you know what? Let's just watch the first few minutes of this.
Well, we should.
We ended up watching the first 90 minutes of the stream. So yeah, if you can't glean that from what we're saying, we had PC Gamers Evan Lottie in the office actually with a massive crazy rig, playing DayZ with us this weekend, and we streamed it at twitch.tv/idlethumbs, and we had a bunch of people watching, and he walked us through the game essentially.
Oh my god! By the way, crazy shit unfolded after we shut down that stream. I don't know how aware you are of this stuff, Sean.
No.
Like amazing revelations about the experience we'd had in that game fucking came to light. And like,
new shit has come to light.
It's
too bad you shut off the stream.
Well, it
was like separate to the stream itself.
Right.
But, like
Chris was killed.
But
spoiler.
But
I
kind of don't want to read that stuff right now because I want to give people who haven't seen the stream yet time to watch it maybe next week.
Well, maybe we can bring Evan in. Just obviously we'll be rehashing some of that stuff right now because I think we got to talk about this. But maybe talk about it next week. We'll bring Evan in and tell him about it too. Because does he know about what you're about to say?
Yeah, he hasn't seen the documents that I'm referring to, but he knows more than you do, I think.
Yeah, you said documents, and my brain exploded out of the back of my head. So let's just.
What was going on in the stream? I heard something about a bicycle.
Oh my god!
Man.
Basically, there was like we
apparently had like just a star-crossed sort of DayZ spawn here because
it was weird.
I know next to nothing about DayZ
turned into a 1930s Italian movie.
All I know about DayZ is it's the Arma 2 mod that everyone plays that is selling copies of Arma 2 and that it's zombies and that it's rad. That's basically
everything you said is factual.
That's all that I know about it, though. I know those facts. And then I also knew you guys were playing it this weekend.
Yeah, it was awesome. I don't even know where to begin, Chris. This is your strength.
Well, no, I mean, like you were saying, I mean, I think we got really lucky. I mean, we started off and it was you at the controls and then Evan on his computer here behind us in the same room. And you spent a while just alone waiting to actually meet up with Evan because, we spawned in different points on the map and we had to actually figure out.
Many miles away, yeah.
Yeah, And you found quite early on a bicycle, which I went back and was looking at, I think, like the NeoGAF thread about this stream, which
I should read that.
I guess was happening in real time, obviously, as we were doing it. Or maybe it wasn't. Maybe I can't remember. In any case, someone was like, what? He found a bicycle? What? Now he's on the top of the sniper hill and he's not getting shot? What is going Did they set up a private server? Like, people were flabbergasted that you were able to have this, like,
Mr. Magoo, like happy-go-lucky, plucking daisies.
Yeah.
What's funny is I played the game a little bit more.
You just got destroyed
last night. I'm having just the worst time. I'm basically having 127 hours. Like is my experience right now in DayZ. It's fucking horrible.
Well, why don't you tell some of that, because the stream people can watch, but why don't you talk about some of
okay, so
I mean, just to give some grounding, I guess, like Jake about this game. Before we tell specific stories,
sure.
The idea is, it's, as you say, it's based on Arma 2, which is a very kind of strict military
it's a very sort of simulator
tactics,
like personal sort of tactics themed thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like it's about managing your own dude to a very high level of detail.
Yeah. Right.
Strict is a really nice adjective.
Yeah. It's got a lot of the same qualities I like about something like Stalker, which is that it's very systemic, it's very big, it's very toned down in terms of spectacle. It's but it's online, obviously, in a way that Stalker isn't. And the amazing thing about DayZ is that because, I mean, there's permadeath. You die and your character's gone.
Right.
Because there's that, and because everyone really is existing in the same world with the same rules applying to them. As opposed to a traditional multiplayer game where everything's very exaggerated for different effect. And you respawn or there's a new round or whatever. I mean, there's none of that in DayZ. It's as tense as it would be, minus the fact that you're inside a computer.
Right.
Just living in this world, needing food, needing water,
needing to stay warm.
Not being able to sustain too grievous of an injury, et cetera, et cetera. And also there's zombies. And the interesting thing is that the zombies are like a 1 on the scale of 1 to 10
but not when you start.
What will make you lose your shit. Yeah. Right. When you start, the zombies freak you out if you encounter them before you encounter other people. But as soon as you encounter another actual human, it's like, oh my God.
Are all humans in this other players?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
And you can have, it looks, I think, 50 to a server. And the thing that is also kind of hard to get your brain around, especially if you've played anything massively multiplayer before, is that when you server hop, everything comes with you. Your health, all your inventory, your exact location, everything. So
does the overworld consistent across servers as well?
Well, not like
apparently
if you
there's one other map.
Like the overworld's the exact same, but like
it's not generated terrain or something.
No.
Okay.
Things like the terrain is actually so not generated that Evan Lottie had a fucking topo map of
that's amazing
map that we would
that was high quality, man,
and like pour over and point to landmarks.
You'll see it
on
in the stream.
It's absurd. I mean, it was crazy.
Like Evan's like, we're gonna go west. I'm like, no. I think we're actually pointed east right now. Yeah, because there's that steep hill right there. Because the lines,
none of us had a compass.
Yeah, none of us had a compass.
We had to actually orient ourselves based on the position of things in the world, compare them to the map. I mean, it was awesome. It was incredible.
It was an amazing experience. It was really great. So to answer your question, but like things like that bike, the aforementioned like rare bike. That wouldn't be in the same spot, obviously, if I changed servers. If I got off that bike and ran away.
But if you were on the bike and changed servers, would you get to keep your bike?
That's a really good question. I have no clue.
I feel like there is an answer to this and we don't know what it is. There's something about saving things. There's something that we never did anything with. I don't know.
Yeah, because it said save old bike on it. Yeah, you're right.
I can't remember how.
The bike, by the way,
people listening probably know more about how this works.
The bike from the Bicycle Thief. Like the nice old-timey handlebars that were short, and like, it was a good bike. Soviet era. Awesome bike.
Yeah. But, this game is set in what? The Czech Republic?
Czech Republic, yeah. Yeah. And, so the thing is I started playing and...
This was last night or whatever?
Yeah. When was it? I was at the office. Must have been yesterday morning. And this sort of fear and loneliness aspect of it that I didn't get from basically, if you watch the stream, I am having the time of my life. I ran from zombies for like enough time to be scared, but like basically like I felt it was like nerve-wracking, intense, but like I ride down a country road on a bike, I meet up with my buddy, we never run into another person really. Like my perception of what danger was just completely different. And we talked a lot about this sort of perception of the systems of the game because the systems are so on their face and so strict, and it's an amoral, there's no good or bad, there's no whatever.
Although there kind of is, which I don't know how I feel about this.
I know I was going to
when you kill people, you get your humanity lowers, or when you kill other people, your humanity lowers, and you even start getting visual affectations, like a bandana or like head wrap or something.
Like a head wrap and a bandana.
Which I don't know if I'm crazy about that.
Yeah,
stuff,
people knowing that you're a bad dude before. Yeah, I agree with that.
Although I guess the developer thought you needed something to balance out the fact that this isn't reality and dying still isn't really all that bad.
Right.
You know what I mean? So like
it's when you see guys who have actually I had the experience last night, I'll just keep going, like and I was alone and the whole thing is you start off with nothing. You start off with a bandage and like you instantly start getting hungry and thirsty as time goes on. And you can only find food, water, or not water, but like a canteen or soda, or bandages or ammo or weapons only inside of structures. It's the only place that stuff spawns. But the only place zombies exist is in cities and structures.
Sure.
So you can be out in the forest and relatively safe as long as you're not running into a murderer. Also, your kills, human on human kills, are tallied as murders.
Yeah, good
phenomenal.
Choice. Yeah, good
phenomenal choice. And it just the first hour of playing, I was just thirsty. I was just so thirsty, and I see it getting redder and redder, and finally I find a canteen, and it's like magic. It's just I've accomplished this great task. I had to crawl through this town, find a barn, get into the barn. I only found a canteen, and I found a hunting knife. And then I spent another 2 hours trying to find a gun. And I finally get this gun, and it's an old double-barrel shotgun. And I find 4 bullets for it, and it's again like, oh my God, I'm going to live. I'm going to survive. And getting out of the town, I get bitten, and I'm running away, and I can't get distance between the zombie and myself. I've been playing for about 4 hours. I feel like I've made all this progress. I'm like, I can't die. Oh my God. Like, I'm finally starting to get over the hump here. I have a weapon. And he bites me again on the back. And now there's like blood pouring out of my back in a stream, and like I'm just looking at my blood going down and down and down, and it's desaturating. Right. The screen desaturates as you start to like basically if you get under 2,000 blood, you have 12,000 blood. Which okay, if you get under 2, you're like it's unplayable. And like finally, like I turn around.
So where are you now?
I turn around, I shoot the zombie, and I miss. And I shoot him again, and I hit him, but it doesn't kill him. And I'm like just trying to run and get enough distance so I can reload. And I'm running for probably like 2 minutes now, and he's still just chasing me, and I can't create distance. I'm like, oh my God. Okay, I just gotta fuck it. I'm just gonna die. Turn, reload, shoot blindly. So I like turn, hit R, shoot, kill him. And I'm just standing over the zombie. He's got nothing on him. I'm in the middle. I don't even know where I am. And like the screen is like going in and out of focus, and my character's shaking. And I instantly bandage myself because now my blood is down to like 2,800. And I sit down and I'm just thirsty. And I drink my water finally. I drink my water and I'm like, oh my God, my canteen's empty. And I'm just sitting in the forest and I'm like, okay, what do I do? I have to get food. If you find packaged food, it's only good for 200 blood. I'm at 2,000. I need to get to 12,000. Like if you cook food, it's good for 800 and you can get 3 pieces of meat off of an animal. Like I need matches. I need to find an animal, and I can't even fucking see. Like it's just sort of like coming in and out and like all gray and pulsing. And I've been playing now for another hour and I'm going to die. Like I'm just sad and alone, but I'm sitting in the woods and I'm thinking about turning it off, and I'm staring at it. I'm like, God, this sucks. And I hear, and Evan made a good point about the game is that any sound you hear is either nature, which is like birds and like the wind, zombies, and that's it. Any other sound if you turn the music off, which I did, any other sound you hear is created by another player. So I hear the sound, it instantly like registers like it would in a survival mode. I'm like, holy fuck, somebody's in a helicopter. And sure enough, this helicopter,
oh my God,
boom, like flies over the forest, and I look up and I'm like, fuck. Like the amount of gameplay distance between I need to find matches and find food, and these guys having rebuilt a fucking helicopter is just unfathomable. And for the game to create that level of scale in its problem is just really, truly remarkable.
Yeah, that's out of control.
It's fucking. So I'm just I logged out. And I'm like, I'll come back to this. So my character's just sitting when I log in, and she's be sitting in the woods alone. It sucks. Sucks big time. Oh, I also when I downloaded it at home, I think it's even though it's attached to my Steam key, I was given one more opportunity to pick my gender. You pick your gender once at the beginning, and apparently that's a wrap. It's bound to your CD key. So I picked a female this time for the heck of it. whose name is McGinley, which means nothing. But anyway.
Crazy.
Yeah, it's a fucking good game.
I got to check out this stream.
That's so different to the experience we had on the stream too.
Yeah.
We had the hilarious bike adventure, and then met up with Evan and explored a castle and just had a magical afternoon. And then we encountered this guy who was just a DayZ Lord who just totally who had been tracking us for like 10 minutes and just totally got the drop on us.
Yeah. Is this like the guy we met in Resident Evil 5 that one time?
The exact same reference was made.
Yeah.
The exact same reference was made.
Yep.
Yeah.
Crazy, like, refrigerator backpack dude.
This guy was in a fucking ghillie suit.
He was in a
with
ghillie
an
suit.
M16 and a fucking M50, like a 50 caliber Barrett on his back. Just like, hey.
And so I just figured I wouldn't kill you guys.
He's like, I've been tracking you for 10 minutes. If I wanted to kill you, you'd be dead already.
Which was accurate.
And then Chris is...
Does this have voice chat or is this on...
Yeah. It's proximity voice chat.
Yes.
Yeah. So Chris hits the talk key and he's like, thank you. Like all small. And the guy's like, so anyway, I could have killed you, but I didn't. So, what do you want to do?
Well, the crazy thing is that we again, looking at our big map, Evan was like directing us to, he was like, all right, we're going to go to this one town. I can't remember the name
Berezino.
of it. Berezino.
Yeah.
We're going to go here. We're going to see if they've got anything. Like, try to find some better equipment. The guy's like, yeah, all right, we go to Berezino. Like, this is a thing that, like, people in the world, people who play this game know the world. They know the places. And it's like, you know where to go. The funniest moment was the time where we were climbing up the mountain and we were waiting for Evan to catch up with us.
Oh my God,
And the guy...
Evan had to log out. Oh.
And the guy, like...
had to log out. Funny story.
The guy, like, he's kneeling down behind a rock just to survey the downhill slope. And I get behind him and the guy's like, hey, do you mind? Could you not point that thing at me? And we realized, like, oh my God, yeah, that's the reaction.
But this guy if this guy dies,
right,
he's leaving... Every single item on his body represents tens of hours of gameplay.
So is your corpse around and lootable, or is it just you're just blipped?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But getting back to that is not an easy task.
Whoever
You can't
killed
come
you is
back
gonna
to
take
your
a shit.
You can't come back to your body, I don't think. Can you? I don't think you can.
I don't know.
Yeah.
If other people can, why can't you?
That's a good question. I don't know.
Whatever.
Anyway, he just crouched down behind me. He was like, hey, dude, maybe just don't sit behind me with your gun pointed at my head. That'd be great. Thanks. Because he basically said, I can't remember what his language was, but he's like, if you kill me, I'll make I can't remember what he was saying. He was
make
like,
it my mission to hunt you down.
Yeah, I'll make it my mission to hunt you down and kill you. Because like that's on chat. We get off chat, right? And I turned to Evan, and I mean, it's still on the stream, but off in-game chat. I turned to Evan and Chris, and I'm like, guys, like, let's just on its face. Because Evan was waiting to load back into the server, and Chris was waiting for this guy. They're at the tree line, basically looking down at this town, and waiting for Evan to get back into the game. Because I accidentally tore the Ethernet cable out of the back of his computer.
Just ripped out the Ethernet.
I got up and I was like, oh, I'll just quickly move stuff
cable
around and get people bottles of water and stuff, and ripped out the cable from the back of his computer.
Sweet.
Yeah, not sweet. And
fortunately, it was our Ethernet cable.
Yeah, it wasn't actually his. But
thanks, Kickstarter backers.
Yeah, off the stream, off the in-game chat, I turned to them like, let's weigh this on its face. We have effectively nothing. Then the coolest thing we had was
oh God,
was Evan's AK-47,
right,
which seemed cool, but that's it. That was our golden baby. Like that was a valuable item. But other than that, we had the shitty handgun. That World War I rifle,
the Enfield rifle.
Yeah. And it was like, and they just look like a musket on your back. Yeah. And like, this guy has just. He gave Chris a blood transfusion. Like this guy was a.
That's the only way to get back like a significant amount of blood.
But you need somebody else to give you a blood transfusion. Wow. You can't do it yourself. Yeah. So I'm like, guys, look, I'm not saying we kill this guy, but the upside for us is so insanely in our favor compared to what it'd be. He would just get his kicks for killing us, right? You know?
But he was trusting you guys to not point a gun at his head and just blow him away.
Somebody in the chat, man, he's like, guys, like, yeah, I'll take you to Berezino. And somebody in the chat instantly pops in and says, we could be looking at a Hansel and Gretel situation here. Which is just the funniest thing. Yeah, I'll take you to the candy place, wherever the hell she was taking them.
Door locked.
Yeah. Well, apparently that happens.
Yeah. There are like straight up hostage, like kidnap situations in this game.
Yeah. Yeah, somebody in chat, somebody was saying that these dudes like captured him, and they're like, "We're not going to kill you. You got to come with us. You're one of us now." And he's like, "Okay." So he's with them for a while, and he's running on. He's like, they kill a couple people. He's like, "Whoa, we're killing people!" And then they're like, "We got a helicopter. Get in this helicopter." And they get in a helicopter, and they go for a ride, and they're like, "We're sick of you," and they kick him out of the fucking helicopter.
Oh shit!
Oh fuck!
He's dead. Yeah. It's a fucking intense.
He's dead now.
He's dead.
He died when that happened.
Yes. It's
crazy.
It's a good game, man.
That sounds really good. So now I really want to check out this fucking stream.
Yeah, check it out. It's really good.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Also playing that game.
Well, that's the thing is we ended up watching it because when I was showing Amelia, we ended up watching it for like 90 minutes. I'd already, she was like, "Oh no, let's wait a minute." I was like, "We can turn it off. We don't got to watch this."
Yeah.
I was like, "I don't want to watch this. I know exactly. Like, this is weird." She's like, "No. Let's just watch this for a second." So. It is a fun game. Like watching Chris, it was like it's a fun game to watch for sure. It has that sort of like old school adventure game quality where you're just like, do this, go there.
I've heard this game just has a ton of horrible trolling going on in it. You guys didn't experience that. You and I imagine you guys were jumping servers whenever that sort of thing started.
I understand.
We encountered some trolling.
We encountered a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah. We had to actually swap servers because we got trolled in chat into showing our character
server location.
Oh no.
Yeah. Cool. Like press this button, it'll make it better.
But people can track you down even with more subtle clues than that. So I mean, we should have blocked even more of the screen. We decided not to when we started, but in retrospect, in the future, we'll be even more
clandestine.
Yeah, cautious. It'll just result in ugly black bars all over the screen.
Yeah,
we'll just start putting little slices of Goldblum faces over any.
That's actually what we wanted to do. But it was the first time we were streaming.
Yeah,
so
also, I think that would have detracted from the gravity of the situation.
That's true.
We'll paint him to look like a zombie, so it's thematic.
Oh, good. Yeah, that'll be good then. Mm-hmm. You want to take a break?
Yeah, it's break time.
Video games.
We were talking about how our microphones might have been swapped last time, therefore we would have had bad audio quality.
Oh, because yours was pooching?
Mine's got that pooch.
Yeah, mine, we
de-pooched Jake's microphone.
Jake would have noticed if his microphone was pooched.
I wouldn't have noticed. But what I did notice was that this was over to the side this week, and mine is usually not over to the side, which makes me think that maybe last week Sean and my mics were swapped, which meant that you had to do weird boosting
yours was
shit.
Pooched.
Yeah, so that's when
the mic. For what it's worth, we need to clarify: the mic itself is not pooched. The mic,
the pop screen is pooched.
What is a pooched pop screen?
I'll show you. Come here. It's right there. See that?
Oh,
Pooched.
that little pooch right
what else would you call that?
Bunched up, scrunched up?
Pooched up.
Pooched up, okay.
Bunched up, scrunched up, pooched up, pooched pop screen. With your new pooched pop screen, tired of a non-bunched up, scrunched up, pooched up pop screen?
$17.99 value, now only $9.99.
We'll throw in 2 non-pooched up pop screens for free. Don't swap them, though, or the audio levels will get fucked up.
I love
Pooched up.
Pooch pop screens, like White Plains, New York. It's always at the end there. It's like, it's always like 555 Pooched Way at White Plains, White Plains, New York.
Pooched Way.
That's true. It is.
The Pooched Pop Screen companies, they're doing all right. They got that new campus.
It is always in White Plains or Buffalo or something.
Yeah.
So, Yonkers.
I don't know why that. There's probably a very good reason why that is.
I'm sure.
It's one of those things like Delaware.
There's probably like a low number of companies that handle fulfillment of all that shit, and they're all in upstate New York.
Perhaps. Maybe just one guy.
We don't trust those pooched pop screens to just anyone.
Pooched Pop Screen. Founder of Pooched Pop Screens.
Robert Pooch Pop Screen.
Yeah. Well, the pop screen is named
Pooch
after
might be
Robert
the new name that I give my video game characters.
Hey there, Pooch.
I don't know. It's a good name.
Yeah.
It feels like what you would call a guy if you were like in Bastogne with him in the 40s, like in World War II. It's like, okay, we got Frank Pooch. You guys go down. You flank to the left. Yeah.
I like that the guy's nickname is Pooch and the pop screen is named after him because that implies that there's like their designer who shows him the row of like which one is going to be the flagship pop screen of the Pooch pop screen, and then he looks and sees the one and goes like, oh no, that's a manufacturing defect. He's like puts in the cigar and lights it. Cut to 5,000 Pooch pop screens.
Right.
We've only received one of those though.
You see him flying off the
Well, Chris could only afford one.
style press shooting out of the thing.
Yeah.
Do we want to?
Was this a good test of our audio levels?
Find out.
Test our levels.
Let's see. Maybe now that we fix that pooching issue.
Video games.
Sorry, we're back. Man versus Machine.
We're back to talk about video games.
It'll never work.
Go ahead.
Oh, okay. I mentioned, I think, on the last cast that I was looking forward to playing the new TF2 gameplay mode, and I played it, but I only played a couple hours of it because during its sort of really exciting launch window, which was the time that I was at the computer, Valve servers just got completely fucked.
It was also really bad this weekend because you're like, "Do you want to talk about Man vs. Machine?" And I said, "Yeah," because I sat there and looked at a queue window that didn't make any sense, and then I disappeared.
Yeah. So I don't...
Remind me to let that dovetail back to DayZ for 2 seconds when we get there. Yeah.
I'm not a person who plays MMOs or really actually... Like, I most of my PC... most of my multiplayer gaming, or almost all of it, is on old school... either dedicated server or direct client to direct client stuff. So the notion of a queue was completely mind boggling to me. And I got all these facetious tweets like, now I know what MMO players feel like. Now I know what it's like to play MOBAs. I'm like, oh, okay.
Why were they being sarcastic about
I don't know. People are just like, well, now I guess you know what it's like. Like, I guess what it's like is
there's sort of like, that's like a thing on the internet though, where it's like, guess you know what it's like now to be hungry. It's like, yeah, it sucks.
Yeah. Well,
did I ever say that it didn't? Like
I didn't reply because I was just frustrated that I was sitting in this queue, but my response in my brain was, well, I guess it's fucking terrible, and I'm glad I don't play anything that does this because this is a waste of my life. But
what's funny is because Jake's computer took a total dump about a month ago,
and I've been too shitty to fix it.
He's just playing it in my room, so I'd come in and be like, "Hey, I was just gonna." Oh, so you're still on waiting to play? Okay,
can I use your computer just to wait in line for a while?
Go back.
Are you using it right now?
Yeah, I'm gonna go back in the kitchen, cook. Bye. Yeah,
I eventually got out of the queue and into the game.
Were you a man or a machine?
Oh, you only play as mans.
Oh, okay.
The machines
Only
are the bad guys.
Yeah.
Only video game mans.
Sorry,
allowed.
I got out of the queue and into the game. It sounds like a weird after school PSA for not queuing.
Get out of the queue and into the game.
Just like a bunch of like
at your local Boys and Girls Club of America.
Just like a bunch of out of shape kids just in line for I don't know like ice cream truck.
They're waiting in the churro line. Yeah.
Or I imagine that it was a bunch of overweight kids waiting to play an MMO, and then like a coach was like, "Come on, join our youth basketball league instead. Get out of the queue and into the game. Like, why wait in line for a fake game when you can play a real game?" Coach pitch. Like,
of course, the first time as soon as you go to PE, there's like line up.
Yeah.
Anyway, go ahead. So what'd you do?
I shot a bunch of robots, but I thought when no one else here has played it yet. So
I've seen it being played a lot. And
were you observing it at work or something?
Well, I was watching you when you were playing it in my effing room. First step one, and two, like at work, I saw people playing it.
I need to play,
but I haven't been able to get through the queue.
So I started off this with people making fun of the queue, or making fun of my queue experiences, saying, well, now you know what it's like to be playing these games. My takeaway from Man vs. Machine so far was I'm not entirely sure if I like this, but I want to play it forever. So maybe I do know what those games are like.
Free to play. You've learned what a free to play game is all about.
That is the only criticism I have seen of the game. Nobody has said on its merits, the thing that's really great about this game is it makes you play like a team and you have to go back to the thing and you have to really think about how you spend your man bucks and blah, blah, blah.
But I don't think it's doing that. For me, it wasn't.
I know nobody is giving that criticism. All I hear is like, I played for like 3 hours.
Yeah, it's like, okay. That makes me think that it's bad. Like I want to play it more because I feel like
this is like I mean, the way that Valve makes games, it's just a matter of time, right? Until they started making games that are that, because that I feel like is like the logical endpoint of a really, really clean, well-tuned design is just you want to do it forever without necessarily knowing why, because that's what like infinitely play-tested gameplay will do.
It's hard to tell for me if that's what the Man versus Machine stuff is, or if it is just frustratingly simple but has enough. I guess it's maybe the same thing. It is so far. I've only played on one map, and I played for probably an hour or two. But it is
you're playing for a while.
It is Team Fortress mechanics on one side. You're the 9 classes, and you can build sentries and have grenade launchers and all that stuff, but then there's just wave after wave of incredibly weak robot versions of all the classes. And then there's some special ones, there's giant guys and tanks and weird shit like that. But like, it didn't have for me what I actually enjoyed about Team Fortress, because I didn't actually get a feel for any level of strategy going on. And that's where I wonder, is the actual people who make Team Fortress 2, all of the previous updates that they've done have really focused on that stuff. Like that's what I was trying to talk about last week, I think, is the stuff that added to TF2 that was not in Team Fortress 1, at least not that I remember, is things like the cart-based stuff, which is just like crazy fun, really aggressive, and really strategy based, or at least
people start
like
switching their classes based on what they're trying to get that cart to do at that time.
And like and I'm not seeing that in what I'm playing, but I was also only playing on launch day of this weird mode, so it makes me wonder. Does the challenge show up?
It's fundamentally a completely different game, right?
Well, yes, but the underlying mechanics and the first word in the name of the game are built around your team doing the jobs that a team would do to accomplish a goal.
Right.
And then it also made me wonder if this game has the problem that I often have when playing tower defense or wave-based games, which is I feel like, at least in the games that we were playing, we just kind of won.
Yeah.
All the time. Like, I know Plants vs. Zombies is a game that has an incredibly slow curve, but it's the most extreme example of that for me, where it's like, every time in a round of Plants vs. Zombies, I feel like I finally like got all my stuff working, got my base firing on all cylinders. You win. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
I don't get a chance to prove out my cool strategy against an actual interesting, formidable thing.
Oh, there's a game that does that incredibly well, like surprise out of like, is Gears of War 2. Like, or I don't know if I played 3. Anyway, Gears Hoard mode like is super good because weapons are really rare drops and getting ammo is really rare. So then as you start to build strength, like you do in actually a game like Binding of Isaac, like it's carrying over wave after wave after wave. And you can find these shields that you like smash into the ground. And then because it's a cover-based game, that's like as good as gold. So you can find a corner of the map that you can be like, okay, with 3 shields, we can completely bar this place off. And then like enemies will start kicking those down. But like the further you go, the more fortified you feel and the harder the game gets as well. So it has this really nice arc of like, our strategy is working. They're going to start sending characters at us that are exclusive, that were designed exclusively to thwart the strategy that we're using right now. But until they do that, we're not going to change strategy. And then, okay, God, they're sending those things now. Let's rework this whole
that's
thing.
exactly what I want, built on top of the existing stuff that's in TF.
The best thing in that game.
It's not what I was experiencing when I was playing. People would get good sentry and teleporter placements up. People would sort of start aligning their classes and upgrade things. And then we just all kind of felt like bosses. Or we would get just so rolled by a generic wave of super high caliber guys that it didn't feel like... It felt like we were either just completely ruling or like we were just the most worthless people that got steamrolled in 2 seconds. So it didn't... The dynamic that I wanted wasn't there. And I guess my only other sort of issue with it is the trailer that they put out for this. And this is a shitty thing to have to say because fucking comparing a CG trailer to a game is bullshit garbage. But the trailer for Man vs. Machine is one of the most like tonally evocative things that they've put out for in the history of really good Team Fortress marketing. And which it's incredibly frustrating because every other previous Team Fortress trailer, all the Meet the Class stuff, and even the really, really early trailers where it would like do the cheesy Guy Ritchie style crash zoom freeze frame on the guys, all of that stuff felt like what the art and the sound and the sort of just creative content of Team Fortress felt like.
Yeah. Well, they also, all those videos do a really good job of evoking what it's like to play that class.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
You know, like
but
when the Scout one's a good example.
Man vs. Machine has everyone slowly banding together. And then that huge, crazy machine barfs out fog, and the robots come ratcheting out looking like these weird clockwork things. And you're like, oh my God, this is just a fucking tonal tour de force of what a co-op experience is like. But then what it actually is the announcer lady says, "Protect Manco," and then you hear a little blip of the music from that trailer, and then all the robots come out, but they have procedural, like, tune shading outlines the same way that the cart does, so that they pop from the environment even when they're behind walls, and, like, there's no, like, it's a small, stupid criticism to have, I know, but it was disappointing to me as someone who's loved following all of the TF stuff and just sort of waiting to see how that stuff gets reflected back into the game.
Well, it's funny because watching you play the game, it felt tone deaf to me. It didn't feel...
It was weird.
It's funny because, like, the Oculus stuff that we were talking about last week,
Oh, Monoculus?
Monoculus, yeah. When that guy shows up, the entire tone of that level changes. Like the music changes, the sky changes, everything changes.
Yeah, all the dynamics, all the teams.
Like when crazy robot guy in Pikmin appears.
Oh man, yeah, when that fucking huge stomping bug shows up in Pikmin.
Exactly like that, actually.
Yeah, when Monoculus shows up.
And I kind of expect, does any of that stuff
exactly
ever
like
happen? Like when the big dude shows up.
Oh, when there's a big tank that comes rolling through, and that's the one time where like people go, "Oh fuck, tank," and then just a big, hastily nailed over wood barricade at the very back of the map just rips open, and a huge just metal cube comes slowly rolling through the level. But it's still like, yeah.
Yeah, I felt like
Monoculus. Sorry, Chris comparing Monoculus to that guy in Pikmin 2 is my favorite thing because it's the exact same dynamic.
Where like opponents are now
where Olimar and Louis are suddenly like, we have to kill this crazy thing to make maggots burst out of it that then just freak us out and make us lose. But whatever.
Well, the little music, the orchestral music.
It's something gets that. Yeah,
good.
It is like. I mean, it's funny. I mean, I don't know if it's worth talking about, but like, it's like hoping that a CG trailer at least captures what it feels like to play the game, and I think. Even though like a good one is like Dota, the Dota trailer they put out is just like classic World of Warcraft like madness trailer. But when you're that character that they're showing, it does a good job of evoking what it's like to play the different classes, what it's like to work together, like the sort of lore-ness of it.
The Meet the Medic trailer is a really good example to me because you're like, what's interesting about this guy? He's a support class, but he's also a support class who turns people into glowing, invincible monstrosities. But the way that thing was put together was so good. And then it ended with the shot of what looks like it's going to be the heavy walking up onto a pile of corpses, and then the heavy just keeps walking, and the medic is the guy at the very top with his stupid little healing beam, and then sun rays come bursting out from behind him, and you're like, that's exactly how I feel as a medic when I fucking am lording it up, and the guy in front of me is wrecking dudes. But like,
you're facilitating it.
You are, That,
but some of that feels even more empowering.
Yeah. So they've been really good about that, and although I've been having fun so far with Man vs. Machine, it doesn't. I don't know. I gotta play some more of it. It's interesting. That said, weirdly, I would recommend it.
It's free.
I would also recommend it for the perverse thrill of having played as a demo man for years, then finally getting to go to an upgrade station and make my gun fire faster and hold way more items, so I could just go. That's hilariously empowering. But also, I'm just blowing away wimpy robots. If only I could use it on a real server. The game would be horribly unbalanced and unfun, and I would quit playing. Anyway, that's a lot of Man vs. Machine. Sorry.
You want to do some reader mail?
We should listen to reader mail from you.
You guys have been sending us lots of mail.
Yeah, we have a lot of mail right now, so we're only going to unfortunately get through a very small percentage of it. I hate to say this, but a thing to do if you want to increase the likelihood of your email sent to questions@allthumbs.net getting read on the thing is to shorten it. We're terrible examples of this.
I saw you looking for all these different words, and you're like, no, it's just...
Because we're long-winded bastards.
Yeah.
But it can be really difficult to paraphrase.
It's not that we don't appreciate it.
No.
They are really fun to read.
Yeah, shorten it, or at least include a TLDR that you put some work into condensing down the point.
We'll read the whole thing, but it's really difficult. Like, we'll read the whole thing ourselves, but it's really... It's tough to fit a super long
we've noticed that there's a definite
the
bias for what gets read on the cast for shorter stuff that gets to a point. That said, let's hear what you've picked for us to read.
Mm-hmm. Okay. This person didn't sign her name, so I guess I won't read her name. She writes, "Hey Thumbs, I'm a lady who enjoys video games. Unfortunately, sometimes the video game community can be unwelcoming for the ladies. Hitman sex nuns, rapist character development, girlfriend mode are all just some recent examples of this problem. It's heartening that so many dudes like Idle Thumbs are finally starting to vocalize their dislike for the shitty way women are sometimes treated or represented in this community, but it's clear there's still a long way to go. I'd be curious to hear what your opinion is on the growing backlash against the anti-female sentiment in the video game community. Do you think we're heading in the right direction? Sorry if this is a really loaded question, but it's something that really interests and concerns me. Please keep up with the podcasting. Thanks, a lady fan."
I'm really bad at current moment historical perspective, like most human beings are. Mm-hmm. So it's hard to say if I feel like trajectory is good.
Yeah.
And in doing so would only illuminate my general positivity about human nature. So that's where I'll go with it, I guess. But
sure.
Like I feel like the conversation is there. Mm-hmm. Are you the type of person who says, well, at least the conversation is there, therefore we're pointing in the right direction?
Right. Well,
I don't know.
That points to another thing that's very difficult to have perspective on, which is not the historical perspective, which is also difficult, as you say, but also just in the present, right at this second, having perspective beyond your own personal bubble of people,
right? It makes
of whom
me wonder
you're personally
if,
aware. Like I don't,
right?
If the girlfriend mode story actually escapes out through sort of
weird pressure chamber,
if it even manages to pop out into the general public consciousness, is the only thing that you get out of that is someone going, ugh, games, Christ, is this okay? Whatever, and then like moving on.
You're right. Is it either people going, oh, video games again, this stuff, or God, what do people keep complaining about? Just people making jokes. Yeah. Like, right. I mean, it's like, who knows what percentage of just people in the broader world react
exactly
which of those ways.
Especially like we were like a bubble inside of a bubble inside of a bubble, being like game developers who live in San Francisco, who like only play certain types of games.
Yeah, but it's not just that though. I mean, because she's not referring to us. She's referring to generally the sense that more people are talking about this just on the internet at large, and I think it is clearly true that more people are talking about it.
Did she make that point in there? Yeah. I was okay. She did say that. Okay. I thought she was just pointing to the controversies, which I guess are a byproduct of the conversation. Well, I think
she's so right. So let me get this up again. She basically says, she refers to the growing backlash against anti-female sentiment, which I think is true. Like, I mean, there are more articles written about that stuff. There are more Twitter posts made about that stuff than there were a few years ago, and I think that's clear.
Right.
I think that's just demonstrably the case, but it is tough to tell. Is that like 0.1% going to doubling to 0.2%, or is it?
But when does that lip service actually become effective change?
Exactly, right. And who knows? It's tough to say.
Because that's the thing that actually pissed me off about the girlfriend mode thing.
What about it?
Everybody jumped all over girlfriend mode, which is on its face worth a discussion for sure. But this is in the context of a game that is so egregious in its misogyny and in representation of women that it just sort of made me scratch my head and said, wait a second. Borderlands 2 has been the third highest pre-ordered game of all time since the pre-orders
You don't like that people are putting a Band-Aid over girlfriend mode and letting the rest of it go out?
This is what we're upset about. Like, people are putting down, again, it's from what I think I got this from our internal marketing guy, like one of the top 5 most pre-ordered games in the history of video games. And now we're having a kerfuffle over girlfriend mode. We can talk about it on its face, but like, let's look at the marketing materials of Borderlands and then the content within the game itself, and then frame the conversation.
Well, I think what you're describing actually is something that is not at all specific to games. I think it's actually something that is really, unfortunately, sort of universally true about our media culture in 2012 or the recent decade, I suppose, is that as soon as somebody just says a thing that you can attribute to them, that's the thing that, like, for example, when you look at politics, it's never like the broad platform that is truly subject to substantial debate and criticism in the media. I mean, it rarely is. I mean, it is if you look in the right place, right? If you look on like Charlie Rose, or you look on like it's just a legitimate news source, but 99% of the news coverage out there, it's just going to focus on the time when the one guy says the thing.
It was like that dipshit in Missouri from yesterday or whatever. We don't need to talk about that.
Is not at all to excuse any of those individual things, but it is largely a distraction from actually more substantial problems.
Well, it does also feel good to call a U.S. senator a dipshit. That is like a really fun thing to do. It is really fun to point at this guy, this different side of the totally different magnitudes, point at this guy at Gearbox and go, dipshit. Right. Like, that's a real fun thing to do, but like, I feel bad for that motherfucker, like big time, because like he didn't last for this, like he wishes he would have.
Not asking for something is not a valid
but I mean,
reason not to be subjected to something.
When you don't understand, if you're Cliff Bleszinski, you understand how loud your voice is in the conversation. When you're this guy talking to, you don't understand.
I don't agree with you on this though, because why should
I still feel bad for the guy? Even if what he said was completely wrong.
You can also feel bad for the guy, but I don't think you should get to say things or not get to say things depending on how aware you are of how your voice is going to be amplified. I don't want to distract from what I was saying earlier. I don't think that people should be exclusively focused on sound bites, but I also don't think that you should be more or less culpable for the things you say because you're more or less of a media personality.
I was not pointing out his culpability. I was just saying like, oh man, his number came up and it was shitty for him. I bet.
Yeah, we put that number up though. I know I feel like I'm kind of arguing against myself a couple minutes ago, but like I don't,
I'm not saying it's all one way or the other.
Yeah.
But the thing is back to kind of what we're talking about, is the point I was like, to yes and what you were saying, is if you're sensitive to these issues in broader culture or in your narrow culture like video games, you have to become a person who, and I imagine this reader is probably like this, who is, you take the sort of loudness temperature of something like girlfriend mode and then have to run that through a crazy processor to figure out how much your business or culture segment cares about a certain issue, as opposed to being able to take a broader conversation on its face. And that sucks. Well, like, it's how I feel about like women's rights right now in politics, where you have to sort of like, there's all this noise. So the more noise people make, I guess people do actually care, but they don't actually care about this thing. They care about this broader, like more systemic, more covert problem.
The way that the one, I largely agree with you. The one area where I think it might be a little bit different is that, one of the things we've remarked upon on Idle Thumbs before is that, again, I think this is very different to most entertainment forms, at least in how extreme this is. The people who make games, play games, and write about games, I think, are aligned in terms of taste and temperament much more than is true, again, in film or in literature and whatever else. I think it's a lot of those same people end up freely floating between those things over the course of a career. Like, I think way more often than is typical. And so I do think that games might potentially be more susceptible to evolving based on strong outcry in that insular community, because everybody who works at a game studio is refreshing Kotaku all day long.
Oh, you totally just flipped your opinion to something I wasn't expecting to say, which I think is interesting.
I don't know if I'm flipping my opinion.
No.
I think it's an influence.
In my head,
there was a twist in what you said.
Yeah, in my head, I was finishing your sentence and like, oh, the insular nature of games maybe makes it more susceptible to change. Is that what you're saying?
Possibly. Or at
That's
least
the most optimistic thing I've heard you say in a long time, Chris. That's really nice.
I don't think it...
No, I'm with you now.
Yeah, I don't know if it makes it more or less, but I think it is one factor that could contribute, you know what I mean, in a good direction. Because I think that it's...
If Kotaku once a week says, this is bullshit, it might sort of...
Now, the problem is if twice a week Kotaku's also saying this isn't bullshit, here's examples. That's right. I mean, that's the potential problem with that.
It's also unfair for us to be like, game culture conversation, just label that as Kotaku. So sorry, friends at Kotaku.
I was giving an example because Kotaku is the site where if you're walking around a video game studio, everybody's got that goddamn site open.
Yeah.
Like, it's just, I mean...
Except for that one guy who's got the Idle Thumbs blog open.
Yeah.
Thanks, dude.
That's a cool guy.
If you work IT at a major video game studio, perhaps you should make idlethumbs.net everybody's homepage
Perhaps
this week.
Kotaku.com should redirect to adjust your DNS.
If you work at IT at Gawker Media, perhaps you should adjust the domain name settings for all of your domains.
Tell your friends about idlethumbs.net. Anyway, so I don't know.
New York.
I don't know how to feel. So I don't know how to feel about this stuff, but I definitely I'm glad that there. I mean, I am glad that there's a response when this stuff happens, like, as opposed to no response. I don't think, I mean, as you said earlier, I don't necessarily think it's all directed in the right ways in the correct proportion. Mm-hmm. But it's better that people are talking about this stuff generally than not.
I guess for me, it's always disheartening because when these things come up, they now, like, when the conversation becomes overt, the backlash becomes overt, and that's always the most just off-putting, just depressing thing to me.
Thing is,
but what that means, though, it's like, so we've all seen The Thing, and we all know the most notable scene from The Thing.
I am for the first time like 2 months ago.
Really super into the metaphor you're about to make.
You know what I'm talking about, though, right?
Keep going, brother.
I don't.
There's the scene in The Thing where they're trying to figure out who's infected. So they use the little like heat gun to blast everyone's blood samples, and then one of them, a crazy like alien puppet, leaps out of the blood petri dish.
Yeah.
So like us not having the conversation is the equivalent of just having all of the sort of the petri dishes laid out.
I love that you just assumed we were all going to know what this analogy was.
That's all I'm saying. The crazy alien puppet leaping out grosses me out, and I hate that I have to look at it. But at least now I know that it's there. So like I don't know.
I'm not sure what you're saying exactly. What is the puppet?
Let me back this up.
For what it's worth, you have taken the metaphor to a place I wasn't expecting. You guys have both subverted my expectations in this conversation to various degrees of
I just don't
entertainment.
understand what party is what in this.
Who's the puppet? The alien puppet.
I'm sad that horrible things are happening in terms of just the conversations that are happening with gaming, but I'm glad that we're poking at it.
So is the alien...
So the metaphor doesn't actually hold up?
It totally does.
So the alien is the fallout of the statement and not like the things themselves? Or
Is the alien the statement? Is the puppet? Is the blood video games media?
Someone who's listening to this will understand what I'm saying.
maybe.
Who?
I don't know. Let's ignore John Carpenter's The Thing, which everyone should watch.
How'd that axe get there?
How did that axe get there? Let's find out in the other movie called The Thing.
Yeah.
What was I don't fucking know what I'm talking about. Oh,
True.
God. My brain just flashed up an image of that little blood puppet leaping out of a petri dish.
Oh, it did? Weird.
Yeah, and I couldn't not talk
That's
about it.
always what happens when Jake thinks about feminist
That's what happens.
issues.
Jake goes into his weird fugue state from time to time. He's just imagining that
Jane
scene,
actually
like an animated GIF in his brain.
Okay.
Conflates John Carpenter with Joan Didion like all the time.
No. Sorry.
We're waiting.
All that I meant was that the thing that I notice all the time is the negative backlash that I find really off-putting, but
I can't look at you right now.
the fact that there's all that. Never mind. Fuck
Just
it.
talk in my ear.
I
really am liking what you're saying. I just can't look at you.
I like that a conversation is happening, even though the side effect is is that it unmasks douches. Anyway,
Even though the side effect is an alien.
the side effect is a blood alien leaping out of a dish. So I have to divert us even further from reader mail for half a second.
Okay.
Oh, if you must.
Because
All right. Have you guys seen Predator?
no, unfortunately, I'm going to talk about a video game dream that I had.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
So
The reader, real name unknown. We're sorry. Go ahead, Jake.
I feel like we've covered this topic
Ad nauseum.
pretty well. Like,
I think we're pretty much done talking about feminist issues.
I
Forever.
don't think that we're done talking about feminist issues.
Title thumbs. Let's put a button on that
I think
one.
we've closed the book on that.
Seal it up. You're welcome, games industry.
Well,
Oh, no.
the burrito. I stepped on
Jake
a burrito.
just stepped on a burrito.
Go ahead.
It shot a
video game dream.
crazy blood alien out of it.
Yes, the only reason that I want to talk about it is because I figured I'd already ruined this conversation enough that it was time to just put a cap
Go
on
ahead,
it with
fine,
the video game
fine,
dream.
yeah.
So I had a dream that
I can't look at you, so I keep going.
you're gonna like this.
Sean once again is giving Jake the cold shoulder.
I look at the corner where
the
your
other
guitar
cheek.
is, and I give him my left ear.
I
so
dreamt that for some reason people at Telltale Games were doing a remake or had taken over development of Gone Home, which is the game that Steve Gainer's working on. But now,
Wow.
So
Wow.
I don't know why people were just showing me development
It was
work.
at GoneHomeGame.com.
Yeah, people were showing me development work they had been doing on Gone Home, but it was in the Telltale engine, and they were showing me this cool stuff that they had done, which was stuff that
Of Steve's game.
yeah, which is stuff that Steve's game and our games technically can't do. But like it started with the picture of the house that Steve's got, that really sort of evocative comic drawing of the outside of a house. It's like on their Facebook page and stuff. But then the camera swung over to the side, and there was a guy walking around, kind of like Rayman, like a third-person platformer guy.
Did he have arms and legs?
Yeah, but I mean, just
okay.
that sort of gangly platformer stuff.
Gotcha.
And someone's like, check this out. Check out what I've added. I think people are going to love this. And he got on a skateboard and then started doing skateboard tricks. But then it went off to the side into sort of like a little thin hallway that was like a Mario Kart style. Like you'd fall off the edges and you'd die. But they were collecting a trail of spinning 3D bananas.
Wow.
Oh man.
And,
A dream inside. You had.
You had Nick Brecken's dream inside your own
but
dream.
inside of that dream, it wasn't. It like that was obviously there because of Nick mentioning that. But inside the dream, like I wasn't self-aware of that. Like no one said, "Oh, it's those bananas." But then I woke up and went, ugh, "Why was I just dreaming about Gone Home?" Except that there was a guy collecting bananas, and I was really happy. So anyway, that's the stuff.
Good story, Jake.
Yeah, I had to tell you guys that.
You should have emailed it in.
Chris wouldn't have read it if I'd emailed it in. I know how this works.
That's true. Accurate.
Wow.
Sorry that I ruined everything by talking about the thing.
No. We're sorry for not letting you tell your story at first. Oh, it was really.
You guys need to just die.
It was really entertaining.
I don't think it was. I think it's time for a new email.
All right. Shane Rubens writes, "Hey dudes, just wondering, with all three of you working in the industry, and with real offices, are you finding it hard to set aside an hour or 2 a week to do the cast, let alone find things to play, read, do, so there's enough to talk about for a whole hour? I know with my own job, I barely have enough time to have 2 to 3 games on the go at any time, let alone enough to talk about them at any length with anyone." Et cetera, et cetera. Shanus.
Oh, okay. So you guys, I imagine, have both seen RoboCop 2. I
have not.
I don't have a RoboCop 2 analogy for this email. Sorry.
The only part I've seen of RoboCop 2 is the part in that supercut of how of all the movie titles being spoken in the movies themselves. And the part of it in RoboCop 2 is just some guy going, RoboCop 2, which apparently occurs in the movie. And that's my whole knowledge of RoboCop 2.
That's all I remember from RoboCop 2 as well. In it. Yeah.
Shane,
anyway, that
super
really
hard.
reminds me of...
Yeah, it's super hard, especially right now, because I think we're all, like, crunching to various degrees, or we have games in, like, critical points of production, and it's been super hard. So, yeah. It's funny. For the first time in my life, I feel like that's actually a thing, where I have so much stuff I want to put my energies into, to, like, an amount that actually matters to other people.
It exceeds one human life currently.
It sucks. Yeah. Because, I mean, you feel that way for a lot of times in your life, but, like, I've never been to a point where it's like that affected other people, like, if I didn't do it.
Things are starting to actually slip off the stack.
Yeah, it's not like really that novel you're going to get to. It doesn't matter to anybody if you don't do it. But now it's like, oh, if I don't show up, I'm letting people down. Oh, if I don't work on this, I'm letting, So that's the hardest part, I think.
Yeah.
For sure. I mean, it is the interesting thing about the cast is that, I mean, it ends up creating accountability to end up actually playing games to some degree.
Yeah,
like that's the thing
really
that
nice,
as you say, like especially recently in the last couple months, it's been I haven't been killing myself or anything, but I mean there's been a lot of stuff I've had to get done, and I can imagine a lot of that time I probably would have just not played games if I didn't have to. But it's like that sounds really negative, but like the cast keeps me honest in that respect.
Yeah. I really appreciate that about the cast.
Yeah. Like a lot of another thing about being in the industry is a lot of people kind of just after they've been making games long enough, a lot of them just don't play games anymore.
Yeah,
and who
does that?
Some people. but I mean, it's good to experience the thing that you're a creator of, right? Like, I mean, that's important. And it's, I like that the cast keeps me honest in that respect, and that it results in something that is enjoyable for people, which is weird.
I also like that Idle Thumbs means that I got to go to QuakeCon for the first time in over a decade.
Jake's like the
Jake's in it for the trips.
Segment.
Yeah. That was good. That was good.
It's funny because that's not even all what the question was about. It's like, is it hard? It's like, yeah. But this has been a very optimistic
because I don't want to just answer it just all. It's hard. It sucks.
It is hard, but
it's obviously like it's a privilege that we get to do.
Right.
This.
Well, it's one of those things.
It is hard, but it's not. It's not on balance bad.
No,
that's not.
Of course.
I mean, that would be crazy to say that.
Yeah. But
yeah.
Video
games.
That was quick.
Thanks, Shane.
Thanks, Shanus.
Shanus?
Yeah.
Shane S. or Shanus?
Right. Do you guys have any thoughts on Steam branching out to sell products other than video games, such as magazines, movies, and software? Your fan, Garriott. P.S. My last name is pronounced Oates.
Damn it.
So this is a real guy. This is one of the reasons I read this guy's email is because like 2 weeks ago, Jake was followed by apparently this man on Twitter.
I'm sorry, Gary, that your name amused me slightly.
I'm sorry your name is Goatsy.
Oh, man.
Chris. His name is Goats. It's Gary Oates. And
first off, did you see the trailer for the Dota documentary that Valve is producing?
No.
Sick. Looks awesome.
I haven't seen that.
It's about like the crippling tension of professional Dota players all over the world whose parents don't understand them, and they've seriously, and they're in a giant pit of loneliness about it. Produced by Valve, framed through the lens of the international and what it means for these guys.
So it's like Indie Game the movie or something, where it's just about people's lives falling apart?
Yeah. Vis-a-vis a game that is they make.
So anyway, we produce and facilitate the ruination of these people's lives.
It would be like Pablo Escobar funding a documentary about cocaine.
Yeah, or Philip Morris, I mean, like, Jesus. Yeah.
But I mean, there's not to say Dota's like a drug, which it is.
Not to say that. I'll say that separately. Yeah. But, that's not the point of that observation.
But I imagine it's going to come out on...
You think Valve's going to sell that documentary on Steam, on the Steam downloadable content service, as it is now probably known?
You got me back. Okay, you got me back. Also, they're also putting out a free Spectator client for you can just watch the international.
Oh yeah, that's cool though.
Yeah, that is really
but I mean,
cool.
that's outside of the realm of games. It's a tool to watch a game being played on a screen.
But that's like
By the
how
way,
a
the
development
international
tool
is at the Symphony Hall.
Oh, man.
In downtown Seattle.
That's funny because that really
Fucking
meshes
stoked.
with their graphic design. For the international.
The look of the international.
No, it's at a fucking classy
the international
venue, dude.
looks like it's a thing that like a white gloved hand will put out a platter with a silver dinner revealer, as I'm sure they're called, and then just open that up, and then on a little bed of lettuce and a doily is an envelope that says the international. Then you open it up, and if lords come fucking
when
flying
we show up to the international, if my name is not on a like fucking beautiful calligraphied folded card on a white table,
well, hopefully,
when
actually,
I walk up, I'm gonna be pissed.
Can we at least? You should up this. You should ask that it is on a silver platter with lettuce garnish, and then
Parsley.
Not the full bed, just one piece of parsley, a sprig. It's fine.
Yeah. It's close to Pike Place. I can just run down there.
Yeah, that's true.
Get some organic stuff. But yeah, you have some real strong feelings about this.
I have mixed feelings on it because it doesn't exist. I like that Steam is an incredibly pure service that it is games.
What is it?
Video games.
It is games.
Steam is games.
Oh, we figured that.
People have pointed out that Steam also sells strategy guides. And magazines for video games. You can't buy a subscription to time off of Steam yet. But like, it's funny because like this, my feelings on Steam branching out to suddenly sell who knows what non-game software, I'm sure is what annoyed/annoying people on the internet said in like 1997 or 8 or whatever. When Amazon.com decided they were going to stop selling books, where everyone's like, what, I'm going to buy diapers from bookstore? And now I'm like, what, I'm going to buy Office Suite from a game download service? And Amazon definitely survived fine. But like, I think iTunes is a fucking train wreck now that they don't just sell music. And I'm really worried about what the hell Steam is going to look like once, like, the summer Steam sale. What? Like, also get Corel Draw. Like, that, it's just...
Sweet.
That aspect of it is really weird and kind of off-putting to me, so I'm curious.
Who uses Corel Draw?
I used it all the time in like 2000.
Yeah, Corel Draw is where it's at if you want to make like a gradient-based vector drawing of a face.
Corel Draw
or like,
great.
Yeah.
Oh.
It's got really cool 3D text effects.
The funny thing is, I think Steam manages its front page shelf space, like its digital shelf space, incredibly well.
But
better
it
than
really
any
does,
better
for
than
sure.
any online.
Yeah,
Right,
yeah,
but
absolutely.
part of that is because I think it's games.
Right, I agree with you. Like, no, it's going to get shitty. You're right.
You're like,
it's going to be a goddamn...
I wonder what video games
show.
are interesting. That's never in my mind, in my same headspace. I wonder what downloadable computer software is interesting. Like, that's just not...
Logic, which we used to record the cast.
Right, but like, that's the iTunes App Store, I feel like...
Oh, you were asking a rhetorical question.
Yeah, I was. Like, we downloaded Logic from the App Store.
Sick.
But even, like... Yeah.
No, I'm with you completely. What's the thing that I was going to point out on Steam is that like if you go deeper than the front page, it's actually really shitty. Like if you click on a genre and go digging around for a game, it's kind of hard to find. It's hard to browse beyond the front page. I find. I don't know how to solve that.
It feels like Steam has solved the front page. They've solved sales, and they've solved sorting by a couple of really popular metrics for what's charting in various ways.
Yeah,
like what's
totally.
doing well that's cheap, what's doing well that's free, what's new, what's doing well generally, and then maybe you can see what's charting by genre.
You can, but yeah.
But I feel like once you get outside of that, it's basically the realm that every online store is, which is you have to know what you're looking for. But the power of Steam comes from those first two. It seems like it comes from the front page, and it comes from the sales. And those are the things that are going to get really murky in my brain unless they have a crazy user experience that they're planning on launching where there's like a really hard wall between that stuff and not.
But right now, I mean, they're already selling Indie Game the movie the same way they're selling
Indie Game the movie is you could get the same way as you can get the Super Meat Boy soundtrack. You can get the same way that you get a strategy guide. And that's where like, and that stuff seems like it's pushing it for me. Like even that stuff frustrates me a little bit, but I can sort of justify it by like, okay, those are effectively accessory products for the game that you're buying.
Right.
Whereas when you're like, get a copy of Trillion, the multi-protocol IM client or whatever. Like,
yeah.
And but it's like it concerns me personally, but at the same time, we have no way of knowing what the fuck it is until Valve actually deploys whatever their version of that is.
Yeah. If they try to just coolly integrate it the way they've been sort of like, oh, now we're selling Indie Game the movie, I feel like it's actually gonna hurt. Like, I don't think that movie was sold on Steam as well as it could have been because it was kind of consumed or subsumed by all the game stuff around it. It just sort of fell to the
It was
background.
sold elsewhere as well, presumably. Right?
Yeah.
But like
I mean,
within
if
the Steam
was
marketplace, like that is obviously, if there's a Venn diagram of who does Steam sell to and who would potentially watch Indie Game the Movie, one of those, like that's a pretty tight, overlap. But at the same time, did Steam do the best job it could have done of letting those people know about Indie Game the Movie? I don't know. Should Steam have been doing that job at all? I don't know.
Right.
But if it's going to, it seems like they've got a lot of hurdles beyond just dropping some apps into Steam.
Yeah, I agree.
And I'm really curious about how they're going to do that.
Yeah. We'll see.
Yeah. I like that I'm somehow the person who just talks about platforms during Reader Mail. Like
you have like a 7-year history of building online platforms and marketplaces.
Yeah.
So you're good at that
I
stuff.
guess.
What?
Jake was integral to building the Telltale Store.
I built Telltale Store and all of our software unlock stuff and all that crap. I mean, I did the.
You have very strong
front-end
feelings about that stuff.
I do.
In a good way.
But
You're more critical about that stuff than I think either of us are, for sure.
Yeah, I just don't know if I'm actually right because I've only
you
worked
sound
for
like
one
you're
place.
right.
Yeah, it's true. It's a thing that I would love to get into conversation with someone about whose job is doing that on a way larger scale than I've ever had experience with. But
if you're in charge of Steam, write us at questions@thumbs.net.
And then if you're the guy who built the original version of Steam, write in to tell that guy how he sucks. And then we'll talk about it on Facebook.
Put it on Facebook.
Yeah.
All right, cool.
We got any more?
I mean, we have tons more, but I mean, is that...
Oh,
yeah, it feels good. No, it was a good cast. That was fun.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks, guys.
That was fun.
And
see that guy who asked if it's hard? It was, but it's fun. We love it. Games.
You know what JFK says about things that are hard?
That's why we do them.
We do them.
Oh, you know what? You know what Indiana Jones says about dates?
You eat them.
You eat them. Yeah.
That's like what a kid. That's like a joke a kid tells, like when they learn what a joke is. Like,
you know what
does Indiana Jones say about a date? What? What does he say? You eat them.
Then the kid laughs and runs out of the room.
Yep.
Yeah.
Or it's just what's in the official Indiana Jones joke book, where every joke is just seems like. Have you ever read like an official joke book for some fucking stupid thing? Like, I think it was Gary.
A critical review of an Indiana Jones joke book.
So I don't know if there was
an article on McSweeney's.
Oh yeah, you're right. I think it might have been Gary Whitta. I forget. Was posting tweets from like the like official Spider-Man joke book, and it was all just that quality of jokes. But it's like official.
You eat them's a good
shit.
punchline.
Yeah,
that's true.
It's true.
Were they as good as you eat them?
Nothing's as good as you eat them. You know what did Luke tell Yoda when he was throwing his shuttle over the ground?
Oh, he told him you're making a mess.
Oh,
he totally was.
Oh man.
Oh man.
What did Elliot probably not tell E.T. when he gave him the fucking Reese's?
Oh, he might not have told him you eat him.
Oh, yeah, I think he didn't say you eat him.
What did you totally not say at the end of this cast?
Baboo.
Subscribe to us on iTunes.
Oh, right.
Thanks, Chris.
Write us a review. Video games. Tutti consomme, you son of a bitch. All of the consomme. You said it was you.